Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing the main card of UFC 199 right now with Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsBreaker.com. We just got finished previewing the two co-main events, and now we're going to take a look at the other three fights on the card. Some interesting stuff here, all somewhat big favorites, all favorites in the minus 200 to minus 400 range. The one that jumps out at me, though, is Dan Henderson against Hector Lombard, right? Now, Hector Lombard, not a perfect fighter, but he's got some ferocious skills, right? He's got some ferocious striking that I think is sets up, just going to obliterate a guy as vulnerable as Dan Henderson. So for the other three fights on the card, I think maybe the best bet that I'm seeing is an early stoppage with Lombard, either taking Lombard in round one or just taking the under 1.5 rounds at minus 200. What do you think about that? I mean, is there any way that fight doesn't end early with a decisive win by Lombard?
I don't know if I would lay the 200 on it, under 1.5. I would probably avoid that. Maybe just take Lombard by KO or something like that of that nature when the props do officially hit, which they're going to be coming out today, more extensive props on this, so you'll be able to get the exact outcomes out there. That's what I would probably look for with Lombard. I mean, you just don't know. They're going to be a little bit cautious. The thing with Dan Henderson is he kind of plots forward. He's looking for that H-bomb, right? And a lot of people are expecting, obviously, Hector Lombard to have that speed advantage, and he's got a ton of power. It probably connects and puts him out. So should it go under 1.5? Yes, it should. But would you lay the minus 2 to 1 basically under that? I don't know if it's really the best idea, because I do think that maybe they give a little bit of respect to each other here, maybe a little bit of a feeling out process early on. But the problem is when they do start throwing, I mean, somebody's probably going to get put out. I mean, Henderson still has that H-bomb that he can knock anybody out with. Now, again, the speed factor is going to be a problem for him, and Lombard is going back up to 185 as well, so he should be a little bit healthier, a little bit happier. So all signs indicate that Lombard probably knocks him out. So I would actually take a stab at Lombard inside or Lombard by TKO over the under 1.5, basically, because I don't know, there's just caution. Dan Henderson hasn't shown the granite chin that he once had. But at the same time, I mean, he is a pretty tough guy. If the referee doesn't jump in and stop it, he might not be out cold. He might survive. I mean, he does have a tendency to kind of regroup and then somehow continue to survive at times. So I'm not saying it's going to happen. I still lean towards the under here as well. But honestly, I hate laying unders.
Yeah, especially at that favorite line, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then laying 2 to 1. Every time we do, and every time it's kind of a no-brainer, it ends up bite me, for betting on it. So I don't like it. I've learned my lesson, kind of. I mean, the fights that you expect two heavy hitters to knock each other out, suspect chins, somehow, some way, they go over. So I don't see it here, but I wouldn't be shocked if it does. So yeah, that's why I wouldn't probably lay the juice at 2 to 1. I would go more so for Lombard by KO.
All right, of these other three fights on the main card, which has taken the most notable action that you think is most interesting?
It seems to be right now Holloway. They bet it up I opened Holloway over Lamas around minus 260, and now it's sitting at, I believe, 335. So there are more straight bets, more parlays coming in Holloway's way. Lamas is a pretty good fighter, obviously. I mean, he's fought for the title. He's been at the top of the food chain for a while. He's got the wrestling. He's got good striking. He's just a well-rounded, fantastic fighter. But Holloway's really emerged as a legit contender recently.
Yeah.
I mean, his stand-up game is legit as well. So I kind of undershot the line a little bit there, and people are betting it up and have a lot of confidence in Holloway. I just think it's going to be a close decision if it hits the cards. I mean, they might get burnt here if it does go that way. I think a lot of those guys that are betting Holloway should hope that he probably finds Lamas' chin, because that's one concern with Lamas with me, is he has been knocked out in the past. His chin is definitely a little suspect. Now, Holloway isn't that one-punch kind of knockout power type of guy. He's more of a guy that's going to put it on you with combinations and eventually get you out of there. So I think that's probably what happens, but I would be a little bit concerned with Lamas' chin. But other than that, if he hits the scorecards, I bet you Lamas is going to be game, and it's going to be probably a pretty close decision. So they might be kind of underestimating Lamas a little bit here, but I do think that the better striker is Holloway, and he probably should keep it upright and win the decision on the cards if it goes.
Yeah, I mean, Holloway's looking kind of unstoppable. At this point, it's just I'm not sure if 320 is something that I'd want to take a shot with. I feel like I'd feel much more comfortable taking Lombard at minus 360 than Holloway at minus 320. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and Lombard's actually getting bet up as we speak. Right now, looking over 5 dimes. Well, there's 365s out there. Bookmaker DSI has around 365. 5 dimes just went to minus 400. So it looks like people are betting him straight, coming in on parlays, I'm sure, as well with Lombard over that price. So that price is going to gradually creep up a little bit. It's tough. I would probably, if I had to choose one, Holloway or Lombard, I would probably go with Lombard as well. Now, again, that 4 to 1, I don't know. This main card, honestly, from top to bottom, it's more of a prop type of card. It's not a good card for straight bets. Obviously, I mean, for the favorites lined up as they are, because the dogs have a slight chance, but you'd rather, like I said, take some prop options maybe with some of the favorites. I think the prelims is where it's at for betting on this card. That's unfortunate, but it's really the truth. I mean, it's just for having some star power on the main card, it is kind of tough. I mean, where the lines are at right now for betting.
Yeah, and then the other fight we haven't touched on, Poirier and Bobby Green. I'm thinking that I'm thinking that this one is very likely to go the distance. The over 2.5 rounds is tempting. It is a high favorite line, minus 200, but I think that might be worth something as well. What would you say to that? Taking a shot with the over 2.5 rounds there at minus 200.
It probably does go over. There is a little bit of a concern. Poirier's chin is, I want to say, a little bit questionable at times. He's looked great, though. He's taken some punishment recently as well, and he survived okay. But that is always a little bit of concern for me, is that chin seems to let him down from time to time. But at the same time, Green isn't, again, he's not really one of those guys that's going to lay you out with one punch either. So I think he should be safe in that fight, and that should be a competitive fight as well.
Yeah.
I think Poirier does have advantages definitely in that spot, but it probably stays up, right? And they kind of have a point fighting match, honestly, on the feet back and forth. So I would expect another fairly competitive decision. But if anything, like you just said, the over's probably the way to go there.
All right, Nick Kalikas, I'm still deciding what bets I would recommend from these 3 fights on the main card. If you had to, which 1 or 2 plays would you like the best?
It's tough. Like I said, I would look at the props, and they are going to be released later on today, and see which options are best available there for some possible inside finishes by some of these favorites. But outside of that, looking at where the lines are right now, maybe that total on Green Poirier over.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the safest, because, like I said, I think Green's tough enough that Poirier, even though he could do some damage on the feet, I think Green can withstand it. And then again, I don't know if Green's going to finish Poirier either, so probably over the 2.5.
Yep, that would be my best bet as well. Even at minus 200, I would take a shot with it. And then the under 1.5 in Lombard Henderson, I guess at minus 200, I would hold off. But if I could get, something like minus 150 or minus 140, I would definitely take a shot with that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. If it creeps down, and it might, you never know the way action kind of comes in on day of the fight. So if it does creep a little bit lower to $150, $160, yeah, there'll probably be some value there for sure.
All right, Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsbreaker.com. Thanks so much. Talk to you again very soon.
Thank you.